Welcome to 52 Questions for God, where we ask questions you don't always hear in church, but you'd like to know some answers. I'm Rick Snider, along with Pastor Chris Bryan, and we're here episode 14. We're a third of the way through the series. Still haven't learned anything. All right, number 14. This was actually a viewer requested question here. Why do you allow sufferings by believers while some non-believers, they live the line? It's sort of like the old drunk driving story of, people get killed and the drunk driver walks out without a scratch.
Well, first things first, he does not allow suffering, but it happens because of the sin-filled world. And what happens overall through it all, i.e. the drunk driver walks away, what happens is how does it show and teach and want others to have and realize God's grace? Because God uses suffering, and it's a terrible thing, but it all started back in Genesis with Adam and Eve and stuff like that, and the serpent. But because of that, through suffering, even to this point today, beyond that one example, God is glorified. So what we have here is an answer to the question is, does God allow suffering? No. Does God use suffering to help others? Oh, yeah.
But there's guys that don't believe in all and get away with it. They're just lucky.
Well, you want to call it lucky. I want to call it God has plans that haven't been revealed yet.
All right. Romans 5, 3 through 5 basically says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah, and Jesus says, you will have trouble in this world. He says, everything helps you develop you. It's kind of like pruning. We want a lot when we're kids, and the older we get, the less we want. Why? Because we know what really is the matter of life.
Yeah. I have to agree with the one point somebody made about suffering and getting through the hard times really teaches you a lot. I mean, I've been critically ill, so have you at times, and you kind of learn a lot from it, and you learn things that others who haven't gone through, say, a cancer or heart, they want to know, but they don't really know. So you have to go through it yourself. So I guess suffering in a way enhances our lives.
Well, sometimes suffering in our way, when we suffer, when we went through our stuff, it wasn't about us. It was, how do you keep a positive spirit going through this? Because of God, because of your faith.
Well, yeah, I always tell people when you're critically ill, what I would do is envision a day that everything's fine. And today's a day walking toward that day.
This is true.
Yeah.
Good point.
All right, finally, Matthew 25:35 talks about caring for the suffering, teaches us compassion and action in support of others. So their suffering somehow helps us too be better people.
It does, because it draws you to God through them. It's called instrumentation. Once again, we use that word. You went through a major heart surgery, I went through strokes, and what happens is, how do you keep a positive attitude going through chaos in the middle of the valley, that darkest valley? I said, how can you not? Because of your faith. And because of God's grace, you have faith. So,
there you go.
All right.
Here's another question there. I'm Rick Snider for Chris Bryan. Thanks for coming. We'll see you again next Sunday.